Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another week of me trying to be profitable and earn a payout. This week was a pretty good week as I'm getting more into the flow of things, getting a bit more backtest done and getting more comfortable with my model and how things work. My patience to me definitely started to improve this week, but I'll leave that for you guys to decide for yourself. And I wanted to go over my reflection in the weekend again, as I find the reflections in the weekend are very important and crucial in how I perform across the week, especially with the lessons I learn from each day. So if you don't want to listen to all that yap, you can skip to this time on screen right here. Alright, but yeah, this weekend the main lessons I went over was being patient and wait for price to retest key levels, wait till price is closer to your optimal entry time, don't tie unnecessary expectations, and waiting for a proper shift before entering into a setup. These lessons were pretty crucial, as you'll see with my trades I became a lot more picky and patient with the setups. I'm overall very happy with the progress I'm making, and I'm glad because I know that it's up from here. I'm feeling a lot more confident overall in my skill, especially with the patience and pickiness I'm developing, and part of that is also because through the week I got the thought where I was thinking about having more discipline over my life in general, as I felt that it was slipping away bit by bit. Because I recognized this, I locked onto that and have been focusing more on being productive throughout my day, and you can see it does have a positive result. It's like the productivity tires out my energy, so I have no energy left to FOMO. And I do think that these lessons could help out people if they were in a similar situation with me, where nothing just seemed to be working and they're having trouble with their discipline. And you know, if I can do it, you guys could definitely can. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into this week's trades. Going into Monday, what we did have was price already retesting N-Walk, and overleft with N-Walk we did have a 1 hour inverse Azalea, which was a bit further above, but it's possible that price completely ignores this imbalances, as these two combos are completely within a 4 hour break block. And this break to the downside does seem to imply that we could get some bearish moves overall. Price does seem to be stalling after retesting N-Walk, so perhaps we could expect some moves down. And on the low term, I did note that we were trending higher after getting an initial low sweep. Price was retesting a 15-minute order block and was forming wicks to the south side from it, which it did indicate that we could move higher, though we were also developing bearish confluences, so that was something I was looking out for. And this setup I was waiting for a while. Initial thoughts were bullish because that's playing into the trend, but I stopped myself from entering because I knew that it wasn't a proper break yet, and we did have those high turn confluences showing bearish, and during market open pressures ripped up hella quickly and swept out some pro measures on liquidity to the buy side and tapped the 1 hour inverse valley gap, which we marked out earlier. From there, price did just leave a decent wick from the 5-minute, which was a good indication, and going in on the 1 minute I did see that price formed and respected a bearish order block, and from there I waited and price eventually did get CISD and a new bearish order block, which were respected, and I entered off of there, and I didn't need to wait for long. Those prices ran really nicely to hit my TP for a nice one of 500. And for today, what I could have done better was probably refining the entry and getting the contract sizing down better. Since I need to use the calculator, it's quite hard to tell if I need to immediately enter, so I ended up risking about 300 today, which is alright. Just getting a better feel for the overall sizing, and I think I held good patience overall today, not forcing the initial long and then catching that short after it was confirmed on the low time frame, so I'm happy with today's progress. Alright, coming to the what I noted was that we're at all-time high again, with us having a 4 hour super liquidity and us trading a very bullish on the 1 hour time frame. We did have news which gave us these wicks to each side, which did look like it swept out some low time frame liquidity, and if price continues like this, it will be forming a new 1 hour order block for bullish. We'll just have to wait and see how price continues developing. And zooming into the low time frame, we did form more bullish, with us taking out the LRLs to the buy side from the news candle. We got a retest and did form more bullish confluences, so I can see price continuing higher. I don't want to get too ahead of it though, just going to keep watching and wait to see how price develops, and then I'll make my decision off of how it looks. And going into the setup, price was still not sweeping the data highs yet, so it was a potential target. I did see that price respected the prior imbalances as mentioned before, and also the 1 minute highlight golden zone, and respected it very nicely. We ended up developing new 1 minute order block plus fair value up for bullish, which I waited for the retest for. We ended up getting a bullish confirmation kind of off of it, which made me decide to take the setup, and it did seem very A+ as the confluences were all there and I was lining up well. And I did realize I was in for too many contracts after a bit, which made me place a limit at break even to lower how much I was risking, but it was too late, and price did end up plummeting to hit my stop loss for a fat loss of 460. And for today, I got impatient and market humbled me. It's just really that simple. The setup was there, yeah, and the confirmation too, but it was just a bit too early for a setup for me to take. Had I waited a few minutes later, I could have avoided seeking the stride that hit me today. Another thing was the contract sizing. I could have calculated it regardless, even if it means I'll be too late. This is a business and I can't half-ass it and go in with contracts out of feeling. I need to properly calculate it so I know how much I'm risking and what's on the table. But yeah, I got quite sloppy today, so I'll fix up my mistakes and keep going. Alright, looking at the high time frame today, we did have a few imbalances to work with, and we just broke through a 1 hour fair value gap, creating a inverse fair value gap, and we also just came off of respecting a 4 hour fair value gap. And this was also an internal low sweep with the 4 hour developing a wick to the sell side. Because of all of these confluences, I was more bullish today. And looking at the low time frame, we did have 15-minute imbalances within the 1 hour imbalances, which I'd wanted to see the retest of. Price could just retest the 15-minute fair value gap above, as there's also a 1 hour inverse fair value gap there, as well as that being the 1 hour change in state delivery. Though I can also see price retracing to the 1 hour order block below, as that's where the discount zone is for the overall 1 hour range. Since I was a bit conflicted, I wanted to wait and see when it's closer to my optimal entry time, what was present that could give me a clue. And for today, I was waiting for a price to retest the key level I'd marked out earlier. Price ended up retesting that key level after market open and did form pretty nicely, but we never ended up getting that shift to the buy side, so I was still waiting for that setup. The price just kept on plummeting more and more until it reached that 15-minute order block overlapped with that 1 hour order block plus 4 hour fair value gap. Though even that wasn't enough, and price just broke through that level as well. I ended up just waiting the entire time with a setup not forming, so I ended up just not taking a setup today. And for what I could have done better today, I could have adjusted my bias after seeing that price took out the key draw on liquidity that I marked out earlier. We were still in a bullish trend, which is why I stuck with the bias. Though after getting that sweep, we price inversed the low time frame confluences using the market open volatility, and we ended up getting a retest, which we could have sniped since we already had a confirmation from the breaks. We also had the high time frame imbalances below it plus the 1 hour high low ranged target for TP, so this would have been a fine setup to take, and I just stuck with what I believed in since it didn't show up with a proper shift and I didn't end up taking anything. I mean, it's all good though. I maintained much better patience throughout the day today, and part of that may be because I was more disciplined throughout the day in general, having a more consistent routine and completing the daily tasks I set for myself. Tired myself out too, but I was proud of the work that I completed regardless of trading, which is why I reckon I could maintain such great patience today. But yeah, otherwise pretty uneventful day overall. Alright, heading into the day, we did seem quite bullish with us having a 4 hour inverse fair value gap and a 1 hour fair value gap overlap, which we had already retested and had a nice reaction off of. And we were trending higher as we could see the 1 hour shifts to the buy side, and we were currently getting retracements on the low time frame, and those said low time frame imbalances were in the 5-minute order block and the 15-minute fair value gap. These confluences were also aligned with the overall 5-minute high low golden zone range, so this area was a hotspot for a retracement, and I wanted to see the reaction off of this level before going for a setup. And going into the setup and market open, we ended up getting a dump to sweep out the LRLs to the sell side. The price ended up forming respecting the 5-minute order block, with the sweep merely being a wick on the 5 and 15-minute time frame. From this sweep, we also formed a bullish SMT as ES hasn't swept this low, and price then ran pretty nicely, forming a change in state delivery and a breaker. And you can see I was trying for a setup using the high-low golden zone. The price just wasn't giving me a retracement for my entry, and we ended up forming a new 1-minute order block after a short accumulation range, and price did retest the order block, but I was too slow with calculating the sizing, and price ended up just running higher. Alright, so what I could have done better was just acting with more efficiency to calculate the sizing, and also I could have just market entered into the setup since it was already confirmed and price was already moving quite clearly without much retracements, like the 1-minute fair value gap within that 1-minute breaker, for example. I could have just taken action and entered, but it's alright. Stayed patient again today and stayed disciplined throughout the day. Getting better at reading and being patient too, which I'm happy with, and I'm honestly happy with the wisdom, as I know it's much more valuable than the PNL. Alright guys, going to Friday, what we had was price retesting a 4-hour order block with there being a internal low sweep as well as developed wicks indicating longs. There was a 1-hour order block for bearish, though I was honestly leaning more towards longs because of the other high time frame confluences. More time frame alignment if I go for longs, and this is also depending on how the low time frame looks when I zoom in. And the low time frame was showing bullish too as we developed a 15-minute order block for bullish, and seeing that this imbalance was developed, I wanted to see the reaction off of this imbalance. And going into the setup today, I marked out the 5-minute imbalance within the 15-minute order block, which was this 5-minute order block. The 15-minute high-low range also overlapped pretty well with these confluences, so I accepted this range as my key level and wanted to see the reaction price would have after hitting this level, and price ended up retesting this level and waiting for a bit. We did get a shift bullish with us creating a 1-minute inverse fair value gap and retracing. Since this formation occurred and was also aligned with my optimal entry time, I decided to take this setup. And the setup initially looked pretty slow with us chopping around for a bit, but overall expecting the low time rate confluences were bullish still. And then out of nowhere, this Diddy candle just came out of nowhere, which was an actual jump scare. Price was just running really nicely at this point. We hit my partial at the recent draw on liquidity, and I was planning on taking the full TP at the prominent high, but since price was starting to stall and we were about to get market open, I decided to just bail on near my TP for a total of 240. And with today, I was honestly pretty happy with the setup and entry, more just the TP aspect, as I could have just taken the fulls at the recent high or was stuck with the prominent high final TP as price ended up running really nicely. There was no indication that price would reverse, and price was running really nicely still, so I could have remained in the trade. A rookie mistake by me, but I'll be more careful to grind this part away. Overall though, a really nice setup today. Alright, so that about does it for this week. I'm quite happy with the progress I've made this week, and honestly the growth in knowledge feels so exponential, it's crazy. I'm feeling so much more confident now, and the results are actually reflecting to that too. The P&L may not be the craziest you've ever seen, but honestly I feel like now I have a much better footing now where I am, and I'm going to keep working on my productivity and discipline outside of trading, as well as continuing to backtest and gain more knowledge on my model. And some new things I learned this week, which now seem common sense, is like having a productive day, staying disciplined for all throughout. It seems so obvious, but just having a more productive day does make you feel better, and at least for me, I like when I work a lot, as it makes me happy with the work I put in, and I realized that I became a lot more patient after having a productive day. And it's like that all that excess energy that makes me jittery and itching to take a setup is just gone, as I spent it all on being productive throughout the day. And like, I did start running, which I think did help fill out the time and put my energy to good use. But yeah, just being more productive in general, and it's tiring but rewarding at the same time. But yeah, that about does it for this week's video. Sorry if this week's video was more low quality, as I did start going back to uni this week, and working alongside that hasn't given me much time. I appreciate you guys' support, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day. And if you guys are interested, check out me and my friends' Discord. It's just a chill place for everybody to talk and grow as traders, and we're all on the same journey to become the traders that we want to become. So yeah, join up if you guys are keen. But yeah, that's about it for this one, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.